Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So without objection, we're going to waive the approval of the minutes to our next meeting. There's one thing needs to be clarified in the minutes from December 4th. So on to old business. Sherman Hill Road, 2-family. Please come to the podium.
Hello, board.
Welcome.
Hey, gentlemen. It's me again. Here to discuss, I think this will be very brief. I didn't return any of the comments to the planner and the board, just based on I knew we were going to have some meetings the last couple Saturdays with the boards on site. So I want to make sure we're kind of all on the same page before I resubmit and waste time and your time. So after reviewing with them on the last 2 weekends, discussing with some of my colleagues and engineers on my end, I feel this should be broken out into individual applications. My main reason for that is lots 16 and 17 are actually solely owned by different corporations and different people. I technically can't even apply for an application for those lots through me to begin with. So, and even those 2 lots individually are owned by 2 different people as well. So the right way to kind of look at this is multiple people having the same idea at the same time. You know, It's not really grouped as one. So that's kind of all I have at discussion at this moment before I put everything together and submit it.
All right, we're going to go to the planner or the attorney this time.
Okay, my only question about that is you got a single or certain geographic area, you've got the same activities happening at the same time. The environmental review should cover everything together, not be split up, or else you're doing segmentation, which is technically illegal. So for that reason, I don't know if you can split them up, because we need to do a seeker to cover the entire action.
Even if you had different owners come in, if you were all doing it at the same time, we would, require everyone to bundle into a single environmental review.
Even though they're being done at different phases as well, it's not all being done at the same time. I mean, theoretically, it'd be, we pull one, I could break this down to one application until that's up, and then come back again, and come back again.
I mean, that's kind of classic segmentation, is breaking it down into small pieces to make it look like it's not a single project.
Which I totally understand. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally understand that. With the aspect that it is individually owned by different people and entities. It really is.
Lots of projects that come before the board are owned by other people at the time. Right, co-applicants or contract vendees. We look at the project, not the ownership necessarily, although we did ask you for letters of authorization.
I
Yeah.
understand.
And also, I mean, you're on the record as coming in with it originally as one, so that
I wasn't
going to start splitting it up. It's
I totally
red
get
flags
that.
for
I really do.
segmentation,
I was trying to show all hands and do
Right.
it together, but I'm not even sure how to handle, like I said, going forward with the other 2 lots that again are owned by different people.
I mean, they don't want to give you their authorization?
Would it still fall under one application then?
Maybe we should have an offline discussion, because I don't want to negotiate here.
No,
But
I'm asking. I'm not.
I think it's, for seeker purposes, it's one project. Whether each applicant needs to come in with their own application and application fee, we can talk about what makes sense. But you've presented it as a single project, and I think the board now has to review it as a single project. It's all off of one access. They're all.
Is there another reason besides it being owned by multiple or separate entities that you want to separate it out?
It just feels, I mean, my first thought of grouping it together was to save time and resources, yours and ours alike, just getting it kind of all out of the way, because that is the future plan for that area. But ultimately, it's being done very segmented over time as fill-in work and stuff like that. And by grouping it all together and all the stuff that kind of gets triggered along that ways, it doesn't make sense on our part to do that when it's going to be one building permit
Right.
this year possibly on one lot. and-
Right, you said when we had, at least our site walk, that you thought you might do just one structure a year for the next
Yeah.
4 years or whatever,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, trying to do it at once at first was to try to save face. I keep repeating myself, I apologize for
Well,
that.
I mean, if,
And I get your
if
position.
the separate owners are just gonna come in for a single-family home, then I think that's one thing, but if they're all doing
wouldn't even have
the
to be
exact
here.
same configuration, I think it makes more sense to look at it all together. I mean, there are other reasons for that. Under the flexible subdivision, you're all gonna have to answer the question of, where's this extra density coming from? You're all gonna have to go through the same Department of Health approval process for more bedrooms. For the SWIP, you have to treat it as one project, right, Joe?
Four separate lots, that's not a clear,
It's not a clear answer.
that's not.
Right, and then there's also the additional concern, again, it came up on the site walk about that lot 15 owns the road. So lots 14, 16, and 17 need to have permission to use the road.
There is it's on file, again, I was putting all this together. It is on file with
We just need
Dutchess
to
County.
to
yeah.
see it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, we need,
absolutely.
yeah, right.
But that's already in place from the original subdivision.
Right.
Like a shared maintenance agreement and, I don't want to say right away, but.
The way secret could be done for all four, and then broken up into individual applications afterwards.
Yep,
That
that's,
way, a building permit for one can be done, and the time doesn't run out for year 3, site plans don't last that long.
right, we could do one seeker review, and then everyone can come in with separate site plan applications. And then they're on their own timeline.
That way you accomplish both things, right?
All right, so I guess there's more to discuss probably offline outside of this meeting.
Yeah, I just want to get exactly what's going
Right.
to work and what you guys want before I send it in,
So just,
You are, the most creative applicant we've had in a while, but,
Well, big things
That's
are
not-
happening.
that's not bad.
Ground running here.
that's not bad.
not a bad
He's
thing.
nice.
It's,
So just, I guess to recap, so we did have 2 site walks. The first one was myself, Planner Warner's colleague, and Engineer Berger, and yourself. I'm not exactly sure who went on the second site
This is
walk.
myself and Engineer Berger.
Okay, all right. So, and that you brought up that you're thinking, a week and a half ago at least, was that rather than having this design that you have here,
Yes.
was to have two family structures on each lot.
Yeah, that would be the other change. We'd take off the garage and the auxiliary apartment, like I said, that caused some gray area in going with the multifamily. In order to keep the count up to make it a feasible development, we'll call it, you kind of need that like 3-4 unit count on a lot. So we're proposing putting two families up on each lot,
Right.
assuming that the setback and all the other requirements that go along with it can be met. The biggest reason for that is as long as they're not connected, two families don't trigger full sprinkler design and tanks and pumps, which makes the project just not feasible cost-wise.
Right, and the engineer discussed about, the buildings being 20 feet apart, and there was
Yep.
some technical discussion, I think,
Yep.
that went on. So rather than 12 units for these 4 lots, what you're proposing is upwards of 16 units for the 4 lots?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
then there's the issue in the code that you can have more than one structure, but you're supposed to provide double the acreage.
Unless it's a flexible subdivision, then it falls still under the whole density calculation.
Right, so again, you're just gonna have to prove that
Yep,
out.
yep, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've just had the long-term question, which is, what if the other 70 lots come in first to turn their houses into 2 units? I really want to understand where the extra density is and who gets to use it, how it's allocated.
Which I'm assuming a first come, first serve.
Well, that's- I don't-
All of
yeah.
Jordan Lane's developed, I built that out before making this transition, so they would literally have to.
So how much density is remaining? Because it's
If you.
is it on this document?
Yeah,
It's
if
on
you
this
go to
document, right?
Yeah,
No, it's on,
yep.
what's down?
Over the side on page 2, go to the right. So.
Okay, I got it.
Gross acreage net.
Yep. So it's here, this is Jordan Lane, right?
Yep,
Okay. And then we're looking at this.
yes,
Okay. So you're saying it's built out on every single lot here?
yes.
Okay.
Except,
So-
for, I'm sorry, except for one down below, this one. It is
One of
sold.
the ones at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so what was originally allowed under the flexible subdivision for this combined
So if you
subdivision?
Look there and, basically
28
so-
dwelling units, is that what it says?
Are available. So there's 48 allowed total,
Oh, okay.
and 20 are used, broken out into, within the development. So theoretically, there's another 28 dwelling units available, well, I would say for grabs.
Okay. The total number of lots is how many? Like for everything? 4 in the
17?
west? 17, okay. All right, so some of the lots have more than one dwelling unit already?
No, they're all single-family dwelling units.
Okay, so where it says 20 previously used, what are the 20 that are previously used?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, there's 20 lots. These 3 lots are part of that.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I just went off that as our last in the cul-de-sac is 17.
okay. So in this area, what's not included is this?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
That was an earlier development that wasn't part of it, and then the 3 lots on the side plus that huge cut encompassing my cul-de-sac and Jordan Lane was
Right.
the original Dover Hills.
Right. And the rest of, the whole middle part with the Swamp River is owned by the DEC?
Yeah, it was donated to the DEC.
Right,
as
okay.
part of-
Okay.
And DEC has access over that road as well, the private road?
Over Jordan Lane or,
I'm asking which road they have access over.
There's DEC
Wait.
access, I mean, there's public access to the
Yeah, right
property right on
Off of the county road?
Old 22, yeah.
Okay.
Right, for fishing. Or- Okay. All right, any members of the planning board have any comments, questions at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Attorney Polidoro, anything further?
No, just, I mean, if you're going to revise your application, we'll take a look at it and provide comments.
Right. But again, I would suggest somehow you have some kind of conversation as to what is the best way moving forward.
Right, I just.
We don't take another meeting just talking about the same thing.
yeah.
Right, and maybe it's right, maybe it is first come, first serve, but, you know, if all the folks on Jordan Lane wanted to add a second building, then there wouldn't be enough density left, so.
Right.
That might be almost first come, first serve, or like, you know, that burden's on me, really. It's, you know,
Uh-huh.
to take the plan and then, you know, have at it over the course of the next couple of years.
I guess we also need to look at, I mean, under the idea that one of those other lots, I mean, some of them are possibly big enough to have another unit that they could come in and look to, does that application need to go through the planning board or does it go through the building department?
They would come into the building department, if it was a second, single-family home, it wouldn't require site plan approval.
Right, again, so the only reason that you're here is because you're looking to do
The-
two-family or multifamily or whatever.
Yeah, but it's the special permit for a 2-family.
Right. Right, so, right, if you were looking to just build 4 houses on 4 lots, we wouldn't even be having any conversation.
No,
No.
Yes, okay, thank you.
We wouldn't be, even if I wanted to put 4 individual houses up at the same time, it wouldn't be triggering all the other stuff as well, too.
Sure.
That's the other thing to put in
Right.
there, you know?
Yeah, so I'm thinking we could talk more about this. We can be available to have a call or something, but.
Yeah, and, I just want to do it right in the way that makes everybody
Special
happy.
permit for multifamily, which could be accompanied by EAF, right? You can do seeker. It'll be unlisted, I believe. And then you would come in with individual site plan applications once that is approved, or once there's a neg deck. Right? Does that sound right? Yeah. So you'll still be treating it as special permit for multifamily. Okay. And that's what you could use to cover, fill out your EAF.
Two families.
Two families.
Two
Yeah.
Two-family,
But it'll be multifamily under the code, right?
I'm going to call
Right.
it multi,
Yeah.
that's just for me to
Right.
call it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I thought multifamily was 3 or more in the same building. I think it's two families.
I think you're right. Yeah, so two families would still be a special permit application.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can call it two families.
right.
Two
So it's 4 lots, with 2 structures on a lot,
On each lot.
with 2 families per structure, with 2 kids per dwelling.
I like twos.
With 2 cats per kid. It's like the St. Ives riddle.
Do any of them
2
have
parking spots
accessory
per
apartments?
unit.
Right, sure.
Keeps going. I'm sorry, what was that?
Do any of them have accessory apartments?
No, nope, we did away with that
Okay,
to simplify it.
right. Okay, so it just sounds like you should probably talk with our consultants further
Yep,
next couple weeks here, and
yep, that's fine.
deadline is January 3rd, and then
See what-
January 17th.
Yeah, I'll look it up once we get it.
Yeah, okay,
So I did research on their questions, I didn't put any drawings together because I wasn't
Right.
sure
sure.
how we were going to do it, so.
Okay. Engineer Berger, any further questions, comments? Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Arfisi. All right, next we have NY Transco, Dover Electric Substation. Evening.
Evening.
Okay. So, you actually might not have hardly anything to say, because it was all our consultants
correct.
figuring stuff out. So, I thank you for approaching the podium. Did you have anything as the applicant to say?
We're here to support and answer any questions you may have based on
Okay,
what they're about to present.
all right. Let me bring up that folder. I guess Planner Warner, we'll start with you.
Sure. So last month, my colleague Brian Ziroff was here. It took a lot of time to go through a memo that he prepared on the decision and, his opinion on reports prepared previously by the applicant, what they were proposing to do now to address the decision. We had a dialogue with Scott about that, and we came away with, okay, now we're going to prepare this scope of work to investigate the site further, and that's what we've submitted here. Yes, you have it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just jump to the, starting on page 2.
Page 2.
And if you want to pull up the graphic, it might actually just be the best place to start. So I can just talk through that too.
Sure.
So we prepared this is a survey, existing condition survey. The red line boundary is the limits of disturbance for the substation development. The blue dots with the TP and a number stands for test pits. What we're proposing to do is 15 test pits across the site. Test pits are different from just core samples. They're actually taking an excavator and digging a trench, like a 3-foot by 10-foot trench typically, where you can actually see the layers of soil. You can look for evidence of contamination that way, and you can get into the trench and sample from within the trench. That's the idea.
The idea also is that a core sample might just miss something, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is to do a test pit type of investigation. There's 15 proposed. Each one of these was selected based on the history of the site, the review of the Phase 1 and historical aerials, areas where there was vehicles stored, areas where there's historic fill. 11 and 12 and 13 represent points of discharge, surface water discharge towards the swamp to the south. So we picked those as well. Yeah, and we ran these through Scott. He provided a letter today on this. But all these samples would be tested for the residential SCO with protection of groundwater. So it's a higher standard than the commercial, as we discussed last time. And, the whole suite of requirements will be looked at for the Part 375 analysis.
All right, so 2 of the 15 are outside of the area disturbed.
Correct.
Right. Sure. Just, I guess, as for you, do we? I know the site has been clear cut. Are those within the cutting or outside of? Do we know if those are?
I believe the
Outside.
cutting all is pretty much within the red area.
Right.
but Joe was out there.
That's exactly my comment.
That's your comment,
Oh,
okay.
okay, go ahead.
So
So TP 12 and 13 would be in the woods?
yeah, TP12 is representative of where the tire pile was, the special debris pile.
Right.
And there is an access down to that area.
You can walk
Uh,
out to it.
TP13 is got no access at all. It's in, you can see the contour lines, it's down a very, very steep slope.
Sure.
And actually where that TP13 is, it's in the wetland itself. And I'm assuming we don't want to disturb or dig
Right.
in the wetland, so we may just want to reconfigure that.
Yeah, we
one
can take a
point.
look.
Yeah, we can adjust that, you know, this is a dynamic investigation, so these are just the proposed locations. It's gonna change when we see what we see in the field.
Sure.
That was my biggest comment throughout this whole
Right.
process is, you know, this has to be a dynamic situation.
The fact that there is no road to TP13, would that prevent you from bringing
Well,
shovels?
In that particular scenario, you might have to do some hand excavation or, you know, there's a way to get a sample there and understand what's there.
Yeah, post hole.
Post-hole, right. Ideally, we want to see test pits because they give you that really nice
Post hole.
subsurface.
Yeah, post hole is still.
Right,
better.
you're still going to get a good understanding of
Yeah.
what's there, but,
Better than drilling,
yeah, drilling is,
too small.
the 2-inch drilling is
Yeah, I shoot the
specifically.
hole with the post holes.
Right,
Gives you a good view.
yeah.
And 13 was also, you know, historically, if you look back at aerial photos, pretty much not disturbed over a long period of time.
Right, it
But we
was
still
first.
wanted to choose that
It's just
point.
the idea that there could have been surface runoff down to
Yeah.
TP13.
Right, that's the whole
Charge
premise,
point.
is to understand if there is something there before it hits the wetland area.
Right.
Obviously, we would stay out of the wetland.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Planner Warner, anything further on this?
That's pretty much it. It was brought to our attention that there are 2 existing groundwater wells out there. They're in the vicinity of 11 and 15. If you want to bring the map up again, you can
Mhm.
actually see, the resolution's not great on the survey, but if you zoom in a little bit, there are 2 W icons there for wells.
So like, are those black dots I'm seeing?
Yes. So those are overburden groundwater wells, so they don't go below the bedrock. It's soil above bedrock.
So there's one here and one, I'm
Correct.
not sure, there, or,
Right. So we could sample from those 2 and we could take groundwater samples, 1 or more, depending on which well has, has water in it.
Yeah, one was dry during the previous
Right.
investigation, which after all the rain we've gotten, we might have some in there now, but.
I hope so.
But yeah, it's a part of, you know, the investigation. Okay, we have 2 wells. Yeah, we'll sample them. You know, we're going to have the equipment to do it.
Right.
You know, y'all bring,
And we did have exclusions listed. If you go up one more page we did have groundwater as an exclusion, but obviously we can revise this. If the board wants us to take groundwater, we can.
and also to that, if we find in some of our test pits
Mhm.
that we have a deeper situation on site,
Mhm.
because the majority of the site is overlain by a very thin.
It's like a little bit of dirt on a lot of
It's,
bedrock, right?
It's mostly rock, so that's why we really don't have that much of a groundwater. There's no way to tell which way groundwater flows when it's a pocket of rock
Mhm.
that these groundwater. You know, they found one pocket. It's like putting a well in a dish. You know, it's not moving.
Mhm.
It's in the dish, so whatever contaminant is in that dish would be in that well.
Right.
But we may find throughout the investigation that, like TP8, you know, unlikely, but let's say
TP8.
TP5 or
TP8,
TP6
5,
may be a thick enough soil horizon that you would actually encounter, you know, perched groundwater.
Mhm.
And then in that particular,
You find something, then you would go to groundwater next?
well, look, if we find that there's contaminants in one of those too, then it makes sense to bring it and install a proper groundwater monitoring well. You don't, you know, that would be a subsequent, an add-on to that. But again, this is all speculation.
Yeah. I mean, we have language in this proposal now that if we find evidence that requires us to delineate further, we'll do that.
Okay.
You know, it behooves the project to delineate and figure out what's there.
So that's my summary. Brian couldn't make it tonight, but I'm happy to relay any questions I can't answer. And Scott's here, obviously, so.
Okay.
The next steps in my eyes would be, you know, if this was to be approved, we would work towards getting legal access with the applicant. We would work on contract documents, get actual cost proposal together that we can share, and work on, you know, scheduling excavator, because we have to use subs for the actual digging.
Right.
And the lab is also a sub. So we would have to come up with the costs for all that, and
And just to be
scheduling
clear,
it.
Planner Warner, while the planning board has never partaken of any of this stuff before, AKRF does this
oh yeah,
regularly with private clients
They
and
do.
some municipal clients.
yep, correct.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, anything further to add? Or
No?
you had your letter regarding the scope, and I know there was some back and forth communication regarding its creation, so.
Yeah. Several back and forth communications. yeah.
Okay. All right. Engineer Berger, anything to add?
No, I just agree with that the groundwater sampling should be added to the scope of work for those 2 wells if the water exists at the time we're out there. The board should consider adding that.
Okay. All right. Attorney Polidoro?
No comments.
Okay. Members of the planning board, any comments, questions?
comment here.
No comment. Nope. Okay. All right, so we have this draft scope of work, but it sounds like we just want to amend it slightly? Okay,
We can, to include groundwater sampling.
okay. Attorney Polidoro, can you
Right, so
phrase a motion that makes sense for that?
it would be to authorize the scope of work with additional groundwater sampling at the 2 existing wells, provided there's water in such wells. But,
Right, as well.
yeah.
At the time of sampling.
Okay.
At the time of the investigation.
All right, so there's a complete sentence there. I've heard it.
Somewhere
There's a period. You've
Motion
done.
to approve the scope of work as amended at tonight's meeting to include sampling of the 2 existing groundwater wells, comma, provided there is water in the wells at the time of testing.
Thank you. All right. You've heard the motion. So a motion made by Member Williams, seconded by Member Holmes. Discussion? So just, I guess, on the discussion of this, what's the, I guess, time frame then going forward? Because obviously it takes 5 minutes to change a document, but what comes
Yeah,
next?
so like I said, we have to work out the legal stuff, with the contract documents. Victoria wants us to have an agreement similar to Scott's with the town, even though we already have a contract for our planning. Yeah.
Yeah,
um,
trying
so
to protect the
kind of
town
a-
and planning board's interests. That's,
Yeah, and so
That
we
is
have
part
to
of her
work that
job.
out. Our attorney has to look at it, and you know, we'll work out access. We'll get a, like I said, a cost proposal that includes all the subs, and then we'll have to work on scheduling it.
okay.
It's all really subject to when the excavator is available, and we can coordinate all that. So
Okay.
you'll be hearing from Brian more about that than me. But
All right. So would we anticipate an update at our meeting in January, or?
sure,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's possible.
All right. All right. Do you have anything to add? or-
I'll just offer that to expedite the environmental processing, we're willing to pay for that.
Okay.
Just adding. I know it's an exclusion, so
Okay.
we're willing to pay for it.
All right. Member Rahman?
Is there any possibility that when this work is being done, the excavation and so forth, that work itself could impact the neighboring property?
I mean, you're digging up dirt, right? I mean, I don't know.
The digging and the testing and so forth?
The idea is to, you know, dig the test pit, take a sample, and then fill it back in with everything that was taken out with the equipment that we have on site.
So there would be no concern about potential disturbance affecting the Great Swamp area or anything like that?
Not with this plan.
I think
That's right, I missed it.
You want to talk about why certain things were included and not included just because of that concern, such as the bedrock drilling?
And just bring the microphone closer.
So, yeah, the bedrock drilling was, that would be a major disturbance that would potentially create a preferential pathway to potable water.
Right.
rock.
But in this case, preferential is bad.
Yes.
Yes.
Preferential is a pathway that would allow the contaminants that were not impacting the aquifer now to be injected into the aquifer through the rock drilling. So this particular scenario, it's as Aaron said, we excavate and then we put it back.
And it's
So
excavating.
there's not really that much. The disturbance is an hour, and then the material's put back. We're not going to do it on a day where there's like today when we have
Right.
4 inches of rain. That doesn't make sense. But if it's a high dry day, there's no harm in removing the soil that's been there for 40 years since the impact potentially, and then put back in that same spot.
Okay.
There's not going to be
And-
that disturbance isn't going to be any different than it has been for the last 40 years.
And in many cases, we're going to hit bedrock with that test pit excavation.
That's what we're hoping.
In which case, and you're talking about a 10-foot long
Then
trench.
You would stop. Like, obviously, you
Yeah.
get to the bedrock, you
Right.
stop. Okay.
15, the equipment would
The
have
equipment
refusal.
cannot
Right.
go through bedrock.
Is it just a backhoe or
Yeah,
an
it's
excavator?
a
It's an
track
excavator.
excavator.
Small mini excavator, not like a huge one,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And
That's the
after
idea.
test pits are done, backfilled, they're seeded and mulched.
And that's all done in the same day? The digging and the filling?
all
It's
done
and-
same day.
likely going to be more than a day of work,
Yeah,
probably.
but
Oh,
each test
Yeah,
pit
but
is-
Each
test
site.
pit
When
will
we're done
be-
sampling.
will be
It's
exposed,
progressive.
sampled, and then
Yes.
replaced. That's standard operating procedure for these test pits.
Yeah,
Thank
you don't
you.
want to bring the backhoe
So we're
back
talking
to the
about-
hole, so it's dug in and completed at the same time.
Okay,
Probably like a 10-foot long trench, like I said, 15 of those over a 16-acre site. It's really not that much disturbance. So,
So if it's 3 a day, it takes a week. If it's 5 a day, it just takes less time.
Right. Yeah, I don't suspect this taking.
Yeah, the only risk for disturbance to the downstream is the erosion. Therefore, the compacting, seeding, and mulching completely upon placement is a DEC mitigation for any kind of earth excavation, which will be done. And we'll be making sure that's done, so there
Yeah.
won't be any disturbed areas that's left not covered.
Further, if we find something that's egregious, then different steps will happen.
Sure.
Yeah, that material would be encapsulated in poly, as if it was a, contaminant. Let's say we find petroleum contaminated soil. There's a completely different set of procedures that kick in, that the regulation tells us
yeah.
how to proceed.
I mean, my concern with this project from overall, and including this testing process, has just been basically the ecological concerns and protection of the Great Swamp.
Sure. Yeah, and that it's all of ours as well.
Yeah.
Mine
Okay.
included.
Okay. And then just one last thing. Is there any issue with, it's going to be winter, ground freezes?
It depends on, we haven't had winter in 3 years, so.
Backhoe can dig for that.
weather is obviously another scheduling
Right.
thing we'll consider.
Unless we get frost down 4 feet. It's,
But
Yeah,
ideally,
and that's unlikely
that's
anymore.
unlikely in
Yeah.
the time period we're talking.
Okay. All right, anything further?
The applicant has requested expedited review. I think that was not in the scope of work. So do you want to include that in the amended one? If they're paying for it. It's up to the board.
How many test pits a day? Conservatively?
Oh. I know how
No less than 3, but you could do up to 5.
Okay, so it'd take 3 to 5 days?
I've done an investigation similar to this in a day, but,
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't say.
Yeah, you could get all 15 done in one day.
Right, that's, I
But
don't,
more
I can't
likely-
speak to.
Don't
how-
rush it.
Lab test, the testing.
lab work. talking about?
About the lab work?
Oh, the
about
lab
the-
work,
okay.
yeah.
Beyond the standard 7 to 10 day,
Yes.
which we have as an exclusion. We don't have expedited lab as part of the scope, but you could add that in.
All right, so what you were saying earlier is that what you would pay for is the expedited lab work?
Correct.
That's what you're saying, okay. All right. Well, there's still a motion. Do we need to now amend this motion?
Yeah.
Because of that? All right.
And expedited lab work.
All right, so, motion to amend the original motion to include expedited lab work at the expense of the applicant. Made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Villano. Discussion on that amendment. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, so the motion is amended. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, seeing no further discussion on the motion as amended, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. All right, that motion passes 5-0 with 2 absences. All right, anything further this evening with Transco?
No, we'll get this amended and shared with the board and the applicant right away.
All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, moving on to new business. We have 3144 Route 22 LLC.
Have a great day.
Mr. Taylor, thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
It's got,
Grab your phone.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
I was going to make a Matrix movie reference, but we'll move on. Mr. Anderson.
I got you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so let me bring up the information, and then we'll just get something out of the way here. Okay, so it's an application for a gift shop and showroom. You have a parking mock-up. And then AKRF has a memo. Okay. So before we begin, Mr. Anderson, what is your day job?
I am a part-time building inspector for the town of Dover.
Right. Okay. So obviously, it's been brought up that it's a conflict of interest on some level for the building inspector to review his own application. So Attorney Polidoro, can you discuss what will be happening there?
Sure. My understanding, last I heard, the town board understands this is an issue, and they had reached out to the neighboring communities, including Pauling, to do an intermunicipal agreement to share services on this one application.
Okay.
Because there may be a time in the future when Pauling has such a conflict as well.
Sure. Okay.
And so that is in the works.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just getting it taken care of. So please tell us about your project.
Sure. So it's at, the project's located at 3144 Route 22. It is presently a multifamily building with a commercial storefront that hasn't been used in quite a few years. There was one question as to, I don't want to get sidetracked, but the square footage of the units. The two upstairs units are one-bedroom units. I think it was around 672 square feet respectively, both units. They mirror each other. First floor, one-bedroom unit was 916 square foot. This was going back and forth in an email that we were discussing. You were asking questions about the square footage of those units.
Yeah, it's in my memo also, so that's
Oh.
great. If you have that tonight, that's great.
Perfect. So I got ahead of myself. What we're looking to do is the storefront is actually 300 and some odd square feet, 377 square feet. That's the chief financial officer over there. Looking to do a small gift shop showroom, selling gifts, novelties, notions.
Right.
Oh, shit.
As you can imagine, there's not much room in such a showroom.
Right.
So it's basically our plan to have just a location where things can be seen, and we can do our photographs of them and such, because we have a little bit of an online presence where we do some sales.
Okay.
Looking to capture pedestrian traffic, during the warmer months,
Sure.
people going by. I mean,
Oh, Stone Church or wherever.
Stone Church,
Yeah,
or
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so just for, I brought up the Dutchess parcel access. So this is or formerly was an attorney's office?
No,
That's what I thought.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong?
right.
It's
right.
this. It is this parcel.
That's correct. That is
Okay.
the correct parcel. The building to the north of.
Oh, that was the attorney's office, or is
It-
it?
it's currently the
Okay, so
attorney's
it's. I
office.
see. Okay.
Yep. So the building highlighted is ours, yeah.
Okay. All right.
In a nutshell,
Okay.
that's what we're about.
All right. Let me go back to, and you have a parking plan here. Let me see if I can get that. Okay. And so there's 4 parking spots.
Correct, and I labeled it as such because currently only one tenant has a vehicle, so it says tenant, and then, of course, we put owner for us to park, so there would be 2 spots. to park.
Okay. All right.
Does that mean if you had other tenants in the future, different tenants, they couldn't bring their cars?
That does not mean that, no.
Okay, so it would be for the whole property.
Okay. Any members of the planning board have any questions at this time? Member Williams?
None.
Member Holmes? Member Roman?
I'm not clear on how there's access to the parking lot. Is that from Mill Street?
No, it's from Route 22.
It is from Route
Yeah,
22.
if you look at the bottom there, you can see. well, there
No, I'll
you
go back.
This
Yeah.
is Route 22 there in the concrete walkway.
Oh, okay.
The building to the north and ours share the common driveway.
Okay. No, I got it. Thank you.
Sure.
That was going to be one of my questions, is I assume you have a document giving you the right to use the driveway?
Yes.
If you could just get that to us, it'd be helpful.
Okay, so this would be the common driveway, and so the parking area in question is behind the building here.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Member Roman, anything further?
No, thank you.
Okay. Member Lano?
Nope.
Okay. Attorney Polidoro?
My only legal comment had to do with the common driveway agreement and then also the deed, because parcel access hasn't been updated.
That's right. It's that assessor. She's updated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a similar comment, yeah.
All
Or we
right.
can go through ours.
Let's go through your memo.
Yeah.
Where would you like
So
to
the
start?
first comment is just summarizing, this is technically a minor project site plan. Retail use is permitted in the HM zone with a site plan, but because it's a minor project, by code definition, based on its size and such, it doesn't require a public hearing, it's optional for a minor project site plan. So just making the board aware of that. Similar to what we did on the deli on Reamer Avenue, that was also a minor site plan, didn't require a public hearing. The second comment is just what Victoria just mentioned, the previous owner is still listed on parcel access, so I guess it would be best to have the copy of the deed for the attorney to look at, plus the parking lot, or the driveway agreement. Number 3, just going through the definition of retail business, which this seems to fit into. The applicant appears to want to use the survey that they submitted with some markup to serve as the site plan, which you've done in the past. There's precedent for that. I would just ask that, the signature block be added to that. They also they've been requesting some waivers to the site plan requirements based on the nature of this project. So I think one of them, the biggest one, has to do with parking, off-street parking. Basically, with this use, I think it's 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit are permitted. But in this case, the units are less than 1,000 square feet, as Mr. Anderson noted. So there's flexibility there as far as the, you don't have to require 1.5. It seems like there's one, or in some cases, some tenants don't have a vehicle, it sounds like. For the commercial, it's 1 space per 1,000, I believe, and this is a very small commercial space. It's 300 square feet, so it would be like 1 parking space required
And they're
at
proposing
least.
2.
Hmm?
And they're proposing 2 for,
Right. Well, they
They're not
have,
exclusive to the retail.
they're proposing, right
Right,
now
but
they have a total of
there's
4.
sufficient parking.
There's a total of 4 that they want to remain as 4. Basically, using the fact that it had an antique store there previously of the same size, didn't seem to be a parking issue there. And the residential units are less than 1,000 square feet, which gives the planning board discretion to not require the 1.5. So that's really the long-winded, or the comment's very long-winded, but that's the summary of it
Okay.
for number 4 on the parking.
Okay. Anything
This
further?
does not need, number 5, just saying that this does not need architectural review. It's a small space. It's usually greater than 1,000 square feet is what's required to do architectural review by the planning board. You're not changing anything on the building, just reusing that front ground floor space. It does need a referral to the county, given that it's along Route 22. So we can make that referral and wait 30 days for the county to respond. It's likely going to be a matter of local concern. And then for seeker, it is a type 2 action, specifically the 617-5C18 citation, reuse of a mixed-use structure.
Okay.
So I think tonight what we can do is we can classify it as type 2, make the referral to the county. I had in here also, if the board is interested in doing a site visit, you can schedule one as well.
We did that, that deli on Reamer. It seems appropriate. Okay. All right. Anything further?
No, that's it. I mean, honestly, it's, Victoria and I talked about it, and it seems like it's a continuation of a retail use here. So they're being thorough and they're applying for minor site plan.
Yeah.
It's not a change in use.
Okay. Thank you. Engineer Berger? No comments. Members of the planning board, having heard from our consultants, any further comments, questions at this time?
No further comments.
No.
Okay. All right, so, we do have a resolution classifying the action. Let's, just before we do that, let's, when, I guess we'd have to come up with a time to do a site walk. I know we've been typically doing them like Saturday mornings, although this is predominantly indoors, it could just be any given night, I guess. All right. So, holidays coming up. Let's see. Does next week after Monday work for people?
I'm
Or if people are
flexible.
going away or doing anything, obviously, we need someone to be there, so,
It's up to you.
okay. Let me get my calendar.
You're suggesting an evening site walk?
I mean, I guess so. All there's really to
Okay.
see, I guess, is the parking area and then
Yeah.
just inside. Um, Actually, I don't know if next week works. So maybe Thursday, the 4th, does that work, not work for you? I mean, moot point for you. Or Williams, is that, could be available?
Could be.
Okay,
I'm available.
okay. Awesome, okay. All right, so what do we say, 6 PM, 7 PM? I don't know what works.
If you probably want to, before the sun goes down, it's hard to want to.
Yeah.
Don, could you talk into the microphone, please? Thank you.
All right, so then I guess we're back at looking at like at a Saturday then.
If you want to go in daylight, yeah.
Yeah, so Saturday the 6th.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
9 a.m.
Fine.
I know it's really late for you, Engineer Berger.
9 a.m. is good.
It's like mid-afternoon, right?
Man, half the day's over.
Yeah, really. Have to do other work ahead of time.
3144 Anderson. Okay, so Saturday, the 6th at 9 a.m. We'll just, I guess, park, school parking lot, walk over. All right, and then we'll go through the resolution. Resolution classifying the action referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for 3144 Route 22. Whereas the applicants Don and Tracy Anderson have submitted an application for minor site plan approval to reestablish a 377.5 square foot commercial use, a gift shop, and an existing mixed-use building, known as the project, located on a .23 acre lot identified as 3144 New York State Route 22, tax lot number 7063-15-545467. Notice of property. And whereas the property is located in the Hamlet Mixed Use or HM District, and whereas a retail business is permitted, is a permitted use in the HM District, and whereas the property also contains 3 residential apartments and is a pre-existing non-conforming use due to density, and whereas the project is depicted on a hand-drawn markup of a survey entitled Map of Survey for 3144 Route 22, prepared by Robert L. Campbell, land surveyor, dated April 1, 2022, known as the site plan. And whereas the applicants have submitted a short environmental assessment form, or EAF, dated November 29, 2023, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA. And whereas in accordance with SECRA, the planning board is required to determine the classification of the proposed project, and whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR, section 617.5C, subsection 18, reuse of an existing mixed residential and commercial structure, where the use is permitted in the district, is a type 2 action under SECRA. And whereas the property is located within 500 feet of New York State Route 22, and whereas pursuant to section 239-M of the General Municipal Law, projects located within 500 feet of a state or county highway must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation thereon. And therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby, 1, classifies the project as a type 2 action under SECRA, and 2, directs its secretary to refer the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to GML 239-M. This resolution being offered by Member Villano.
Second.
Second by Member Holmes. Discussion? All right. So this will get sent to the county. We would expect a response before the next planning board meeting on the 22nd. That's more than 30 days away. So I would say, and then based on that and the site walk, we'd look to have you back on January 22nd. So anything further?
Waive the hearing formally?
We want to do,
Sorry, I was asking if you wanted to waive the hearing.
oh, okay. My thinking was we could do that at the next meeting after the site walk, if it's,
Okay.
makes sense to do so. I mean, right, it doesn't have to be a public hearing. Maybe there definitely is no reason to have a public hearing, but I guess let's just see it first. Is my thinking. Any further discussion?
On here.
Okay, without any further discussion, resolution classifying the action or referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for 3144 Route 22. Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Williams?
Aye.
Member Valano?
Aye.
Member Ramon?
Aye.
Member Holmes?
Aye.
Chairman Courtine?
Aye. Member Williams, I'm sorry, you said?
Aye.
You said aye, okay. Resolution thereupon adopted 5-0 with 2 absences. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I changed one word. I saved it.
I saw
Okay.
at to on.
All right. Okay, next we have release of escrow. A resolution authorizing release of planning board escrows. Be resolved that the planning board of the town of Dover does hereby authorize that the following planning board escrow be returned to the applicants as set forth below. Applicant Poplar Hill Solar for application PB 21-181, remaining escrow $6,119.72. Applicant Poplar Hill Solar, application EC 22-898, remaining escrow $1,000. And applicant 43 Birds Hill, application PB 23-194, remaining escrow $511.32. This resolution is being offered by Member Roman, seconded by Member Williams. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, resolution authorizing release of planning board escrows. Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Williams?
Aye.
Member Valano?
Aye.
Member Ramon?
Aye.
Member Holmes?
Aye.
Chairman Courtine?
Aye. The resolution is adopted 5-0 with 2 absences. Okay. Okay, our next scheduled meetings are Monday, January 22nd. Deadline for that is January 3rd. At that meeting, we'll have 2 minutes to approve. We'll have a further discussion on 3144 Route 22 and presumably NY Transco, and I guess anything else that comes in before January 3rd. And then our meeting following that is February 5th with a deadline of January 17th. Okay, before we adjourn, one last item of business. We want to congratulate Member Holmes. Resolution acknowledging resignation of R. Thomas Holmes, thanking him for his years of public service. Whereas R. Thomas Holmes was appointed to the Town of Dover Planning Board in March 2022 and has served as a member of the Planning Board for the past year and 9 months. And whereas during his service, R. Thomas Holmes has been an active and diligent member of the Planning Board and has provided invaluable expertise. And whereas his service to the board will be greatly missed, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Town of Dover wishes to extend its thanks and gratitude for Mr. Holmes' service to the Planning Board and to the residents of the Town of Dover. This resolution is being offered by myself, seconded by Member Ramon. Discussion? So, congratulations.
Thank you.
You are going to be a town board member as of January 1st.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we are going to be continuing to serve the people of the town of Dover, and that's greatly appreciated. I don't know if anyone else wanted to add anything further. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So with that, resolution acknowledging resignation of R. Thomas Holmes and thanking him for his years of service. Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Williams?
Aye.
Member Valano?
Aye.
Member Ramon?
Aye.
Chairman Courtine?
Aye. That resolution is adopted. Again, thank you. Appreciate all your help. All right. Seeing no further business before the planning board, I'll make a motion to adjourn, seconded by Member Valano.
Chairman Corteen,
Yes?
since the consultants are now being paid for Transco, are now being paid by the planning board, can we assume that the actual data will be released to the public at the same time the planning board gets it?
Planner Werner?
Just a clarification, we're not being paid by the planning board, we'll be paid out of the escrow account that the applicant's established.
Right.
And yes,
You do the hiring now, right?
So the data will be released, yes?
it will be.
Thank you.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn, seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.